Good day, everyone. It is my pleasure to be with you today as we talk about one of the most important topics in management, leadership, education, and even our personal lives, and that is motivation. Kapag sinabi nating motivation, ang unang pumapasok sa isip natin ay usually inspiration or encouragement. Pero motivation is actually much deeper than simply encouraging someone to work. Motivation is about understanding why people act, why they work hard, why they continue despite difficulties, and why sometimes they choose to do only the minimum required. As managers, leaders, teachers, or even team members, we deal with people who have different personalities, different goals, different needs, and different reasons for doing what they do. So today, we will explore the different theories of motivation, and more importantly, we will try to answer one practical question. How can we create an environment where people don't just work because they have to, but because they genuinely want to contribute and perform well? Let me start with a question. What makes people give their best? Is it money? Is it promotion? Is it recognition? Is it a good boss? Is it job security? Or is it because they simply love what they do? If you look around your organization, classroom, or workplace, you will notice something interesting. Not everyone performs at the same level even when they are given the same salary, the same structure, or the same working condition. May mga employees na ginagawa lang kung ano ang nasa loob ng job description. Kapag tapos na ang oras, tapos na rin ang effort. Pero may iba naman na willing magstay a little longer, mag-suggest ng improvements, tumulong sa mga colleagues, at gumawa ng extra effort. So, the question is why? The answer is motivation. As leaders, our goal is not simply to force people to work. Our goal is to understand what drives them to move from minimum effort to engagement, commitment, and eventually excellence. Let's define motivation. Motivation refers to the psychological process that arouse and direct goal-directed behavior. In simple terms, motivation is the force that tells us, I need to start, I need to continue, I need to achieve something. For example, imagine an employee who comes to work every day. Technically, pumapasok siya because it is part of the job. But there is a big difference between simply showing up and being genuinely motivated. Ang motivated employee might say, I want to improve my performance. I want to learn something new. I want my team to succeed. I want to achieve my target. So motivation gives direction, energy, and persistence to our behavior. In leadership, the challenge is to understand what creates the energy and how we can sustain it. Now, what is a theory? A theory is a body of fundamental principle that can be verified through observation or experimentation. In simple terms, theories help us explain why something happens. When we study motivation theories, we are trying to understand why one people is motivated by money, other by recognition, another by promotion, and another by meaningful work. Hindi ibig sabihin na one theory can explain everything about human behavior. In fact, people are complex. That's why we have different motivation theories. Each theory gives us different lens or perspective. Maslow asks, what does the person need? McGregor asks, what does the manager believe about employees? Herzberg asks, what creates satisfaction and dissatisfaction? Equity theory asks, does employee feel fairly treated? Expectancy theory asks, does the people or employee believe that effort will lead to a valued reward? So, this theory gives us different ways to understand people. This brings us to one of the biggest challenges of every manager and leader. How do we move people from minimum effort to excellence? Think about an employee who does exactly what is required, but nothing more. Technically, the employee is performing, but perhaps there is no initiative, no creativity, and no desire to improve. The manager's natural reaction might be, kailangan ko siyang i-monitor ng mabuti, or kailangan ko siyang pagalitan, o kaya kailangan ko siyang bantayan. But motivation theories tells us that sometimes the solution is not more control. We need to understand the person needs perception, thoughts, beliefs, and goals. Maybe the employee does not see the purpose of the job. Maybe the employee feels unrecognized. Maybe the employee feels that the workplace is unfair. Maybe the employee does not see any opportunities for growth. So before we ask, why isn't this person motivated? We should ask, what is preventing this person from becoming motivated? If we look at the development of motivation theories, we can see an evolution. Early theories focus on the idea that people are motivated because they have needs. For example, people need food, security, belongingness, recognition, and personal growth. But later, researchers realized that motivation is not only about needs. People also think, people compare, people have expectation, people set goals, people interpret situation differently. For example, two employees may receive exactly the same bonus. One feel happy, while the other may feel disappointed because they expected something bigger. Same reward, different perception. Therefore, modern motivation theories focus not only on what people need, but also on how people think about their work and its outcome. Before we discuss individual motivation theories, let's look at the job itself. Sometimes, the employees is not the problem. Sometimes, the way the job is designed is the problem. The job characteristic model identifies 5 core job dimensions: skill variety, task identity, task significance, autonomy, and feedback. These 5 dimensions help us understand why some jobs are more motivating than others. Imagine doing exactly the same repetitive task every day without knowing why you're doing it, without freedom to make decision, and without receiving feedback. Even a hardworking person can eventually lose motivation. On the other hand, if a job allows you to use different skills, see the result of your work, understand its importance, make decision, and receive feedback, the job itself can become a source of motivation. The first dimension is skill variety. Skill variety refers to the degree to which a job requires different activities and allows employee to use different skills. Imagine a person who performs exactly one repetitive task every day. After some time, that person may feel bored. Now imagine another employee whose job requires communication skills, technical skills, problem solving, creativity, and teamwork. The second employee has greater skill variety. For leaders, the question is, am I giving my employee opportunities to use the develop their different abilities? Employees are often more motivated when they feel that their talents are being used. Kaya important ang training, cross-functional assignment, job rotation, and opportunities to learn new skills. When people feel that they are growing, they are more likely to remain engaged. The second dimension is task identity. Task identity refers to the degree to which a job allows an employee to complete an identifiable piece of work. In simple terms, people like to see the whole picture. Imagine you are part of a project, but you only do a tiny step and never see the final result. You might think, ano ba talaga ang contribution ko? But if you can see the project from beginning to end, you can say, I helped create this. That creates a stronger sense of ownership. So, leaders should ask, can my employees see the result of their contribution? When people can connect their effort to an actual outcome, they often feel more responsible and motivated. The third dimension is task significance. This refers to the degree to which a job has a significant impact on other people. This is where purpose becomes important. Imagine a teacher. On the surface, the job is teaching lessons, but deeper the meaning is that the teacher is helping shape the future of the students. Imagine a nurse. The job is not simply following medical procedure. The deeper purpose is helping people recover. When employees understand the impact of their work, they become more connected to what they do. That's why leaders should not only tell employees what to do, they should also explain why it matters. Because when people understand why, the work becomes more meaningful. The fourth dimension is autonomy. Autonomy refers to the freedom and discretion employees have in deciding how to perform their work. There is a difference between do exactly what I tell you and here is the goal. I trust you to determine the best way to achieve it. The first approach creates dependence. The second approach develops ownership. Of course, autonomy does not mean complete freedom. Without accountability, it means giving people appropriate freedom while maintaining clear expectation and responsibility. When employees are trusted to make decisions, they often develop stronger ownership of their work. The fifth dimension is feedback. Feedback gives employees information about how effectively they are performing. Think about driving a car without speedometer. You don't know how fast you're going. The same thing happens in the workplace. If employees never receive feedback, They may not know whether they are doing well or whether they need to improve. But feedback should not simply be criticism. Effective feedback should be specific, timely, constructive, and actionable. Instead saying, hindi magandang performance mo, we can say, your report is well organized, but the analysis need more supporting data for the next report. Try adding at least 3 relevant data sources. That's feedback that helps people improve. Now, let's move on to one of the famous theories of motivation, Maslow hierarchy of needs. Abraham Maslow proposed this theory in 1943. According to the theory, human beings have different levels of needs: physiological, safety, social, esteem, self-actualization. The basic idea is that people are motivated by unmet needs. If someone is struggling with basic survival, it may be difficult for that person to focus on higher level goals. Imagine an employee who is worried about food, housing, or personal safety. It may be difficult to expect that employee to focus entirely on creativity and innovation. Therefore, leader needs to understand that motivation is connected to the whole person. At the bottom of Maslow hierarchy are physiological needs. These include food, water, rest, shelter, and other physical necessities. In the workplace, this can be connected to adequate compensation, reasonable working hours, rest period, and basic working condition. Imagine someone who is physically exhausted or worried about basic needs. Naturally, it becomes harder to concentrate. This reminds us that motivation does not begin with inspirational speeches. Sometimes motivation begins with addressing the most basic human needs. As leaders, we need to ask, are we providing reasonable condition that allows people to perform effectively? The second level is safety needs. People need to feel physically and psychologically safe. In the workplace, safety can include job security, protection from harm, and a respectful environment. Psychological safety is also important. Employees should feel that they can ask questions, share ideas, and admit mistake without automatically being humiliated. Imagine an employee who is afraid to speak because every mistake is punished harshly. That employee may stop taking risks and stop sharing ideas. Therefore, leaders should create an environment where people can say, can I speak? Can I ask? Can I learn? I can improve. The third level is social or belongingness needs. People want to feel connected. They want friendship, acceptance, and positive relationship. This is why teamwork is so important. You can have a good salary, but if you feel isolated or constantly excluded, you may still become unhappy at work. Think about your own experience. Sometimes we stay in an organization not only because of the salary, but because of the people we work with. A strong team can create a sense of belonging. Leaders should therefore ask, do people in my organization feel that they belong? The fourth level is esteem needs. People want respect, recognition, achievement, and appreciation. Think about the impact of hearing these words. Good job! Thank you for your effort. We appreciate your contribution. This simple statement can have a powerful effect. Recognition tells employees your work matters, but recognition should be sincere and specific. Instead of simply saying good job, say, I appreciate how you handle the difficult client. Your patient helped resolve the problem. Specific recognition is more meaningful because the employee understands exactly what behavior is valued. At the highest level is self-actualization. This refers to the desire to reach one full potential. At this level, people are asking, what am I capable of becoming? How can I grow? How can I make a bigger contribution? In an organization, this can be supported through professional development, challenging assignment, leadership opportunities, and continuous learning. Some employees are no longer motivated simply by salaries. They want opportunities to grow. They want to learn. They want to create an impact. They want to become better version of themselves. As leaders, our role is not just to use people's ability. Our role is also to help develop those abilities. One of the most important lessons from Maslow is that people have different needs. This means that the same reward may not motivate everyone. Imagine giving the same incentives to 5 employees. One might value the money, another might prefer recognition, another might want additional responsibility, another might want flexible working arrangement, another might want training opportunities. So, effective leadership requires us to understand people individually. The question is not what motivates employees. The better question is what motivates this particular employee. Douglas McGregor introduced Theory X and Theory Y. Theory X represents a negative assumption about workers. It assumes that employees dislike work, avoid responsibility, and need close supervision. While Theory Y represents a more positive assumption. It assumes that employees can enjoy work, accept responsibility, and become self-directed. Now, the important point is that managers believe influence management behavior. If I believe employees are lazy, I may constantly monitor them. If I constantly monitor them, employees may become dependent on me. Then, I may say, see, they cannot work without my supervision. But perhaps the management system itself created that behavior. This is why leaders need to examine their own assumption. Theory X and Theory Y give us two different management mindsets. Theory X focuses more on control. Theory Y focuses more on empowerment. A Theory X manager might say, do exactly what I tell you. A Theory Y manager say, here's the objective, how do you think we can achieve it? Empowerment does not mean abandoning employees. It means giving them the opportunity to participate, make decisions, and take responsibility. If we want employees to become more responsibility, we must give them opportunities to practice responsibility. You cannot develop independent people by controlling every decision they make. Frederick Herzberg proposed two-factor theory, also called the motivation hygiene theory. According to Herzberg, there are two categories of factors. First are motivators. These include achievement, recognition, responsibility, and growth. These factors are associated with job satisfaction. Second are hygiene factors. These include salary, company policies, supervision, job security, and working condition. These factors are associated with dissatisfaction. The important lesson is this: removing dissatisfaction is not the same as creating motivation. A clean workplace is important. Fair salary is important. Good policies are important. But this may not automatically make employee passionate about the work. For deeper motivation, employees may also need achievement, recognition, responsibility, and growth. Let's make this practical. Suppose an employee receives a fair salary. The employee may say, okay, my salary is fair, but that's not necessarily mean I'm excited about my work. The employee may still ask, am I learning? Am I growing? Does my work matter? Is my contribution recognized? Therefore, leaders should address both sides. First, we need to reduce source of dissatisfaction. Second, we need to create opportunities for genuine satisfaction and motivation. David McClelland identified three important needs that can motivate people at work. First is the needs for achievement. These people enjoy challenging goals and want to accomplish something meaningful. Second is the need for power. These people want to influence others and make an impact. Third is the need for affiliation. These people value relationship, teamwork, and belonging. Imagine assigning the same task to three people. One may be excited because the task is challenging. Another may be excited because it gives them leadership responsibility. Another may be excited because it allows them to work with others. Same task, different motivation. That, that's why leaders need to know their people. Clayton Alderfer developed the ERG theory. ERG stands for existence, relatedness, and growth. Existence is about basic physical and material needs. Relatedness is about relationship with other people. Growth is about personal development and becoming better. This theory is similar to Maslow, but it groups the needs into three categories. One important idea is that people may experience several needs at the same time. For example, an employee may want a higher salary while also wanting a stronger relationship and career growth. So, motivation is not always a simple step-by-step process. Human needs can overlap. Now, we move on from need-based theories to modern process theories. The earlier theories asked, what do people need? Modern theory asks, how do people think? People think about their goals. They think about rewards. They compare themselves with others. They think about fairness. They form expectation. They interpret consequences. So, motivation is not only inside the person. Motivation is also influenced by how people perceive their environment. Goal setting theory tells us specific and challenging goals can motivate performance, especially when those goals are accepted by employees. Compare these two statements. Do your best versus increase sales by 10% within the next 3 months. Which one is clearer? Obviously, the second one. Clear goals gives direction. Challenging goals gives energy. But there is an important condition. People must accept the goal and believe they have a reasonable chance of achieving it. A goal that is impossible may not motivate. It may actually discourage people. So, leaders should set goals that are clear, meaningful, challenging, and achievable. Reinforcement theory focuses on consequences. The basic idea is simple. Behavior is influenced by what happens after the behavior. If an employee performs a positive behavior and receives positive consequences, that behavior is more likely to happen again. For example, an employee consistently provides excellent customer service. The manager recognizes the employee. The recognition can reinforce the behavior, but leaders need to be careful. We should reinforce the behaviors that support organizational goals. If we reward the wrong behavior, we may unintentionally encourage the wrong result. So leaders should ask, what behavior are we rewarding in our organization? Job design theory reminds us that motivation can influence by how we structure work. If job is repetitive, meaningless, and gives no opportunity for responsibility, motivation may decrease. But if the job provides variety, meaning, autonomy, responsibility, and feedback, employees may become more engaged. Two important concepts here are job enlargement and job enrichment. Job enlargement means adding more tasks at the same level. Job enrichment means increasing the depth of the job by giving employees greater responsibility and decision-making authority. The goal is not simply to give people more work. The goal is to design work that is more meaningful and motivating. Let's make the difference very simple. Job enlargement means more tasks. Job enrichment means more responsibility. For example, imagine an employee who normally handles customer inquiries. If we ask the employee to also handle email inquiries and social media inquiries, that is job enlargement. We are expanding the scope horizontally. But if we give the employee authority to resolve customer complaints without always asking the manager for approval, that is job enrichment. The employee now has greater responsibility and decision-making power. So remember, enlargement equals more tasks. Enrichment, more debts, and responsibility. Equity theory was developed by Stacy Adams. This theory tells us that employees compare what they put into their work with what they receive in return. They also compare themselves with other people. Employee may ask, am I being paid fairly? Is my effort recognized? Why did someone else get promoted? Do I have the same opportunities as my colleagues? The important word here is perception. Sometimes the organization believes that it is fair, but if employees perceive the situation as unfair, motivation can still decrease. Therefore, leaders need to communicate clearly and apply policies consistently. Perceived unfairness can be a powerful demotivator. Imagine two employees. They have similar qualification. They have similar responsibilities. They contribute similar level of effort. But one receives more recognition or opportunities without a clear reason. The other employees may think, why should I continue giving my best? This is why fairness is critical. Leaders should not only ask, are we being fair? They should also ask, do our employees understand why decisions are being made? Transparency and communication are important because people evaluate fairness based on what they see and understand. Expectancy theory explains motivation through three important questions. First, can I do it? This is expectancy. The employee asks, if I put in effort, can I actually perform well? Second is, will my performance lead to a reward? This is instrumentally. The employee asks, if I achieve the target, will I really receive what was promised? Third, do I value the reward? This is valiance. The employee asks, is this reward actually important to me? If any one of these is missing, motivation can decrease. Let us use simple example. Imagine a manager tells an employee, if you achieve this target, you will receive a bonus. The employee might ask, can I actually achieve this target? If the target is unrealistic, expectancy is low. Then the employee asks, if I achieve it, will I really get the bonus? If the employee does not trust management, instrumentality is low. Finally, do I even care about this bonus? If the reward is not valuable to the employee, valiance is low. So, leader needs to ensure that employees have the skills and resources to perform, that rewards are reliably connected to performance, and that the rewards offered are actually meaningful to employees. At this point, we can see the motivation is multidimensional. There is no single theory that can explain every employee. Maslow and Alderpel help us understand the needs. McClelland helps us understand achievement, power, and affiliation. McGregor helps us examine our assumption about people. Hertzberg help us distinguish between satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Goal setting help us understand the people of clear objectives. Reinforcement help us understand consequences. Equity helps us understand fairness. Expectancy helps us understand the connection between effort, performance, and reward. The best leader use the theories as different lenses. They don't ask which theory is the correct one. They ask which theory helped me better understand this person and this situation. If we want to summarize our discussion, we can think of motivation as a combination of several factors. People need meaning. People need capability. People need fairness. They need recognition. They need opportunities for growth. They need clear goals. And they need rewards that they actually value. Again, this is not a mathematical formula. It is a practical leadership framework. If we ignore one of these areas, motivation may suffer. For example, you can give someone a high salary, but if the workplace is toxic, motivation may still decrease. You can give recognition, but if the goals are unclear, performance may still suffer. You can set challenging goals, but if employees don't have the skills or resources, they may become frustrated. So motivation requires a holistic approach. So, what should leaders do? First, know your people. Understand their needs and what drives them. Second, design meaningful work. Help people understand why their work matters. Third, set clear goals. Don't expect people to perform well if they don't know what success look like. Fourth, give feedback. Help people understand where they are and how they can improve. Fifth, recognize contribution. People want to know that their effort matters. Six, be fair. Inconsistency destroys trust. Seven, empower people. Give them opportunities to make decisions and take responsibility. And finally, connect rewards to what people value. Remember, not everyone is motivated by the same reward. Now, I want everyone to reflect for a moment. Think about your organization. Think about your team. Think about your employees or colleagues. Who is highly motivated? Who seems disengaged? Why do you think that is? Maybe someone is disengaged because they feel unrecognized. Maybe someone feels there is no opportunity for growth. Maybe someone feels that the workplace is unfair. Maybe someone simply does not understand the purpose of the work. And there's the most important question. What can I do differently as a leader? Sometimes, motivation does not require major organizational change. Sometimes, it begins with one conversation, one recognition, one opportunity, one act of trust, one clear goals. As we conclude, I want us to remember one important lesson. People are not machine. We cannot simply give instruction, press a button, and expect everyone to perform in the same way. People have different needs, different experience, different goals, different personalities, different dreams. Some peoples are motivated by security, others by recognition, others by achievement, others by belonging, others by freedom, others by purpose, others by growth. The responsibility of a good leader is to understand these differences. The best leader don't simply ask, how can I make people work? They ask, what can I do to help this person become their best? And when the people become their best, the organization becomes stronger. Let me leave you with four words: understand, inspire, empower, develop. Understand the person. Understand what they need. Understand what drives them. Inspire them by connecting their work to a meaningful purpose. Empower them by giving them trust, responsibility, and opportunities to contribute. and develop them by helping them become better than they were yesterday. Because ultimately, motivation is not about forcing people to do more. It is about creating an environment where people want to contribute, want to grow, and want to make a difference. When people find meaning in what they do more than complete a task. They create impact. Once again, thank you very much for your time, your attention, and your participation. I hope that after this discussion, we will not only understand motivation as a theory, but also practice it as a leader. Maraming salamat po, and I hope you continue to inspire the people around you. Thank you, and God bless everyone. Please subscribe to Teacher Lumaban YouTube channel.